I'm always delighted to have Tanutamon Gerais come and speak to us because he's a brother who has been organizing, fighting, campaigning, working to get this information about Kush out to people for many years. And I've known him for many years. He's gone to the Congress. He's talked to the people in the government here. He's actively engaged. And we just I just want to recognize his work. He has studied our history and our culture, and he has a lot to say to us. And I just want, he's coming from Washington, and I just want us to give him a very big and wonderful Molefi Kete Asante Institute welcome. Brother Tanutamon, please come forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, my sisters and brothers, and Hutep. Just give me 2-3 minutes before I start my presentation. I want to straight something. I made a mistake last time here, last presentation. I said I met when I met my brother Molefi Kete Asante. I'm going to correct this because it is very important for me. It was a turning point that day I met him. I met my brother Molefi Kete Asante at Virginia Union University in 2007. Before I said 2011, but was wrong. It's 2007 we met in a summit about Africa, and the main speakers in that summit was my brother Molefi Kete Asante and Dr. Jeremiah Wright, and some other professors and doctors. And myself, I was speaking in that summit about destruction of Nubia by building dams. That day, it was a turning point for me when I listened to my brother Molefi Asante. That made me right away go and find the first opportunity and go pick my African name. And that is him. He's the reason.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So, thank you. We have a community in Washington, D.C. area, North Virginia, and Maryland. And we have a Nubian language society there. I belong to this organization. We're going to talk today a little bit about Sudan. Always I open my presentation, what means Sudan? The word Sudan. The word Sudan, it's an Arabic word. Linguistically mean land of blacks. But politically, it means land of slaves, where the Arab used to get slaves, where the Arabia used to get slaves, East Africa. Millions of people died in slavery, in over 10 million people died in slavery in Arabia. They took from East Africa. But this avenue is not open yet. People are not discussing this yet. But let us see, a lot of challenge in the life. People are saying, Egypt does not belong to Africa, and now they're doing the same thing to Nubia, what is Sudan today. When Arabia call us Sudan, they remove our name, Nubia. We used to be called Nubia, land of Nubia. This is, they remove the land of the country and the people and the villages, towns, cities, schools, everything. This is, to me, is advancing Arabian ideology in Africa. So today we're going to see if this African culture, Egyptian culture, Nubian culture is still existing in the Nile Valley or not. We're going to go together. To start with, we know this guy. This is our ancestor, Menes. Menes, he's a founder of United Kemet, United Egypt. He united Upper and Lower Egypt. And he's the fairest king, who built a nation in the human history. That's right. He's the creator of the fairest nation. Look at this guy. This guy is African to you? Look African or look Asian or European? He's African. So this is a creator of Egypt. Menes. Greek call him Narmer. So we start with, we know Egypt is created by black people. And it's a black culture, and it's a black civilization. Okay, let's move. We know about the philosophy of the Nile Valley civilization, the tree of the life. Tree of the life is a divine trinity of Amun-Ra. We know the divine trinity is Osar, Oset, and Hero. Osiris, Aziz, and Horus by Greeks' names. So these three people here, we're going to see them very soon in Nile Valley, how they are represented. So we know this this is an old history, but we're going to know how these people are existing in our culture now. Our great philosopher, Dr. Sheikh Anta Diop, in his great book, The African Origin of Civilization, Myth or Reality, he recommend and ask to study Nubian language to know the history of the Nile Valley civilization. Why? Because a lot of history inside these languages, Nubian languages, old Sudanese languages are Nubian languages. So there is a lot of history in these languages. But which language I'm going to talk today with you is my language, the one I speak. They speak this language in Egypt from Aswan and North of Sudan until the Third Cataract. From Aswan to Third Cataract, the language is called Nubin. Nubin, one of the Nubian language, largely spoken in Egypt and in Sudan. That's why Sheikh Anta Diop recommending to study these languages. The Nubin language I speak, the origin dates to 2,500 years by Dr. William Adams. We have the Nubian Language Society in Washington, D.C. My brother, Nuban Todd, he's a secretary of academia, and he's a main teacher, instructor in this language. And we have a lot of classes going on online. My brother teaching a lot of African-American professors and doctors online, Nubian language. And young people from Sudan, they are picking up, they are going to African idea. Our people here in the United States, the great thing is our young people are growing with mental liberation, not like us, the old people. We are not. We're going to die with this confusion and mental castration and all this happened to us historically. So we have the website, www.nlsnubia.com. You can reach us at that, and then you can attend the class, and we have many classes going on. In Nubian language, in Nubin, the language I'm speaking and the language I'm going to talk today, Nubin, Nile, the river Nile, the word Nile have meaning in my language. Nile means the drink. In Nubian language, when I drink, I say Nile. It's from the language. The drink means, in Nubian language, means Nile. So it's still existing in the language. Nile itself is existing in Nubian language. And then we come to the word Bira. Mostly in books they say Pharaoh, but that is not the word our ancestors called themselves. They called themselves Bira. That's right. Bira is, in Nubian culture, symbolize the kingship, the big king who live in a big house with a big palace, like a White House. Who live in White House? The president. That's right. Then Bra, he lives in a big house, Bira. So this is what our people, the Kushites, the African, used to call the king in that time. But other people gave a name to those king and they call him Pharaoh. But that's not African name. Even king is not, as you know, is not African name. But Bira is African. That's right. Yes. Okay, getting deep into Nubian language. We all know the lightning. The lightning in my language, Nubian language, we call it Herofele. Hero, we saw Horus before, Horus. Fele, ark of Horus. Herofele, ark of Horus. So Horus is still existing today with us. Horus, the god Horus, Hero is still with us in the language. Always remember Sheikh Anta Diop, what he says. So we know the lightning we call Ark of Hero. In Nubian language, we have no other. Ark of Hero. Some people have adapt other name, but have Arabic, have Nubian. But in Nubian language, the lightning, it's called Herofele, the Ark of Horus. And then here we will go to African spiritual life of God Ra and his family. All these things you know. I'm just, for refreshing, I brought this up. The god Ra and his family, his children are Sho and Tifnat, and grandchildren and great-grandchildren all come until it comes to Hero, Horus. What we talked about him in lightning, still he exists with us in the Nile Valley in our language, Horus, Hero. So now we're going to see the family of Ra, the god Ra, if it still exists in our culture, in our language or not. The Nubian, in Nubian language, just allow me a second. The god Sho is a son of Ra, the god Ra, and he's a god of the wind and the air. You see, this is a Sho. He's holding the sky, the air. This is a sky he's holding up. He's a god of the air, god of the wind, Sho. In Nubian language, today we are in February and it's a little bit cold. It's not that cold. But if somebody opens the door or a window, I will say, Sho, close this, please close this door or close this window. I call upon God Sho in Nubian. Sho, close the window, please, or close the door, please. God Sho is still existing in my language, in Nubian language. God Sho. We talked about Hero, Horus, and now we are with God Sho. Is still existing in our language. Okay. Now we're going to talk about facial scar, scarification. Maybe some of you saw some Sudanese have facial scar in there, and even in Africa, everywhere. Even you go to Nigeria, You go West Africa, you're going to see these facial scars in different types. Sometimes 3 vertical, and sometimes 3 horizontal, sometimes ladder, like a letter H, sometimes like a letter T, sometimes indifferent, but all they mean something. It means the philosophy of Amun-Ra, the divine trinity, Osar, Oset, and Hero. These 3 gods, they will come now on face of African, from east to the west. We're going to see this now. This is a facial scar. This lady maybe from East Africa. This lady from West Africa, I believe. I just get these photos from internet. But these facial scars, they represent the divine trinity of Amun-Ra, Hero, Osar, Oset. We have it in our face because it's a religious, it's a spirituality. It's a continuation with the African culture, with the god Ra and Amun. We carry our history on our face. And here, the 2 men. I believe this guy is from West Africa and this guy is from East Africa. But you see the Trinity, divine Trinity on their face. So this is not something to say, some people say, oh, this is only for women to make them, to give them good look or something. No, it's our spirituality, the continuation of philosophy of Amun-Ra until today. And this scarification in my community, it was existing until the age of my dad and mom. I have a lot of uncles and aunts have this scar on their face. And this is a spirituality. It's a part of philosophy of Amun, philosophy of Africa. It is not there for nothing. It's there, it's telling us something. It's telling us the continuation of civilization and the history of the Nile Valley. And that's only you see in Africa. You don't see this kind of thing in Asia or in Europe. So still we're going to see all this continuation where it takes us. We have the Queen Nefertari. Queen Nefertari, wife of Ramses the Great, member of 19th dynasty. As you know, this is all refreshment. Nefertari have meaning. Nefer means beautiful. Tari means beloved one. In my community, Nubian community in Sudan and here, we have similar name, carries from Nefertari. We have Nefer-Ain. Nefer-Ain means Nefer, as we say, beautiful. Ain, in Nubin, in my language, is mother. We call Ain, mother. So Nefer-Ain means beautiful mother. When a woman deliver for a baby girl, she gives the name beautiful mother. Beautiful mother, she's going to be a beautiful mother. How? Not only taking beautiful mother only to her children. No, she's going to be beautiful mother. She's going to be queen. She's going to be good to whole society. Not only her close family, husband and children. She's going to be a great lady. Nefer-Ain, beautiful mother. My aunt, one of my aunts, my dad's sister, was her name Nefer-Ain. And she used to have the 3 divine trinity of Amun. She passed away a long time ago. She was a beautiful woman. She was a really queen. So still, Nile Valley culture and civilization exist in our society in Africa and in our language, in Nubin, the language I'm speaking. Circumcision, this is about circumcision of the boys. Circumcision still exists in my society, in Sudan, in Egypt, in some African countries. This circumcision, it is from Amun's philosophy, is from Nile philosophy, is from our, what they call today religion. That time we don't call it religion. The religion comes later, the word religion. This, it was part of African culture and African religion and African philosophy. We can talk on details someday. I'm going to talk about this because Dr. Finch, Charles Finch, have a great book and great idea about old African philosophy. The old, his book is The Old Dark Land. The Old Dark Land. Yes. That's right. So circumcision is an African philosophy, but adapted by people who invade Africa. And now they use it everywhere. But it's a part of African philosophy, and it have meaning in African philosophy. It's have a meaning. We're going to talk about it in some other presentation, all this. But this is African religion, African philosophy, African culture. Here we see Osiris, wearing a white clothes and white crown of Aberkimit. Osiris, it's we know. So he's wearing a white clothes and white head dress. Here, Nubian cultural dressing. He's laughing, my brother. He's there, and my sister Nahdov was here, and Dr. Nahusi. I hope he's doing good. Yes, so this, we saw Osar in a white clothes and white crown. This is a Nubian dressing culture in Egypt and Sudan. We dressed like this. That's me. That's my friend, Mutwakel. He's a teacher of Nubian language. And this is our friend, the president of organization, Nuban Todd. He's the one who teaching English-speaking groups. Mutwakel, he's teaching the people who is speaking Arabic, Arabophone. So we have two teachers doing the job. But all this, I want to bring the culture of Nile Valley still exists today in this moment I talk to you, and it's in my language. My language is not, we are not allowed to teach or to study this language in Egypt or in Sudan. Who put these rules? Dictator Nasser of Egypt to destroy Nubia. They destroy Lower Nubia from Aswan to the second cataract where I born. I born at the second cataract in a town or village called Ukme. It's not existing anymore. Everything is under the Nile water. So because of the language of Nubin, African language carry the seeds and the elements of the African Nile Valley history and Nile Valley civilization history. That's why Arab Republic of Egypt don't want this to be stable and to be studied. So Dictator Nasser, he refused to teach this language, and they label it as a sub-language and major language in Nubian land, in Kemet, in Egypt, and in Sudan. It's Arabic by force. It is not something we adapt. When Sudanese went to school after 1956, we get independent, it was prohibited to go with African names. You have to change your name to Arabic name. Millions of people, and I was not speaking a word of Arabic when I went to first grade. But they torture me and millions of Sudanese to pick up Arabic language and drop your mother tongue. That is what we subjected to this kind of thing. Not only the slavery. We're going to talk about the slavery of East Africa in some other time. But it's still African culture, African language under pressure in Africa itself. And we tried, and my brother, Dr. Molefi Asante, he tried with us if we can find an institution or university to take this subject and teach Nubian language, Nubian, and they do a lot of research because there's a lot of history there, a lot of history. So I think my presentation now is ended, and I will stop here and I will take your question because I completely forget the football thing while I was driving. But we have to go back quickly because you're going to enjoy your day with the team. My team is not there.
Yeah,
my team is Raven, Baltimore Raven. Okay. Your team is my team. Okay, my brother. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I mean, that's beautiful. We're going to have time for questions. I just want to make a couple of comments, and then we'll go from there. The interesting thing is that every time I hear any information like this, I wonder, why is it so hard for us to get our people to understand who they are, you know? And it's just the mental, psychological oppression that has destroyed our sense of expressing and asserting our African identity. It's a very difficult problem. We have it here. I've seen it in Brazil when I travel among the black people in Brazil. I've seen it in South Africa. It's everywhere. It's in Jamaica. It's the same thing. So, brother, we thank you for your enlightenment, your sense of commitment and determination to tell us the truth, you know, because that's what we do here at the MKA Institute. I just want to make one comment about just your presentation in reference to where you were born, and this is just observation, and you I know you will like this. Observation is that actually you were born at the sixth cataract.
Second cataract.
Six.
Oh yeah, when you count.
So I know you would like that. Yeah, the river Nile runs down to the Mediterranean. He was counting from the Mediterranean up toward Uganda, and that's why he said second. But actually, the river runs the other way. See, when the Europeans came, and they ran into the first one at Aswan, they said, this is number one. Yes. But actually, that was the last one. You see, there are no cataracts between Aswan and the Mediterranean. You see, so actually, that was number 6. But he's right on target, and I really appreciate his reference to Dr. Finch's work and so forth. Now, we have Tugu. Sunusi, did you want to make a comment, a small comment?
Just make a comment.
Okay, then we'll ask some questions. Come on, brother.
No, it's here. It's okay.
That's all right.
And is it working?
The mic's not on.
The mic.
Yeah.
Is it down there somewhere?
It's on down here. See it?
You see it?
I think you turn the volume up on there.
Okay.
Not yet, yeah.
Is it working?
Not yet.
Not
Keep
yet. Yes.
It was that one. Yeah, turn it a little more.
Okay. Wow, I hope it wasn't so down.
Hello?
Can you
Hello?
speak? Speak it.
Okay.
Let's go down.
Down.
No, I was just trying to say a few words. And, then, and it's just a compliment to the brother. And then, to be honest, when you said it's a last slide, my mind was prepared. There like 3 or 4 slides are coming more. But now you say this is the last slide I ended up. And then I said that we should hear this more, information. And as we, Molefi Kete Asante understood tradition, we need to learn something like that. And I'm Sudanese, but I'm up zero in terms of what he said. It's the first time information that I read, but I need the actual person of a Nubian community. And as you said, Sudan, it never used to be called Sudan. It used to be a Nubia or Kush. So Nubian is a black country for black people with their culture and practices. And as you brought the language, I like the idea when we met in Virginia. And you always say that a language carries the culture, culture and history within the language. So now when you understand a language, then you will understand the history and the culture of the people. And my point, I just want to emphasize that we all really need to register and learn a Nubian language. And I really want from brothers and sisters to take any opportunity in our life, even if like 5 minutes or 10 or maybe half an hour in a week, and then be enrolled in the Nubian Community Language Association, so that we can learn the basics, so that we can use in our theory and in our practices, at least to build our philosophies based on the languages and culture. And thank you so much, brother. I'm so excited, also Dr. Asante, for the few words that you said in the beginning. It's the kind words, and I'm so happy my wife is here today with me. I'm so proud of her. And then it's a new beginning. It's a new life that we are pushing Afrocentric movement everywhere. And Asante sana. Kiborai, Boravatay.
I saw on the map that you showed of the Nile Valley and Nile River, and at the bottom or at the top, depends on I guess how you look at it, it's Lake Victoria. I was wondering, what was it called before it was called Lake Victoria? Does anybody know?
I forget. I read. I know that, but I forget the name. You get me on that, my friend. Come on, refresh us. Give us the name. I forget. Yeah, there is an African name for the Lake Victoria, and there is an African name for Lake Tana in Ethiopia. But we lost. I read these names, but due my age, I start forgetting a lot of things. So I try to deliver what is still fresh in my mind. Yes, but everything in Africa used to have African name. Yes.
Hotep.
Hotep.
Okay, the cultural genocide in Africa as committed by the Islamic world, the Islamic world is throwing all kinds of ridiculous money and military support and all kinds of support for that. The people in the Sudan that want to practice indigenous African culture, want to keep their names, want to speak their languages, and practice their religion. One, who is supporting them, and how can we stop the cultural genocide that is taking place on the continent?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, brother. Yes, the African, the Asian, West Asian culture invading African culture. Arabia, West Asia is Arabia. Right. Arab culture being imposed in Africa, that it destroy African culture and African languages. As my brother Togo mentioned, language is a container of the culture. That's why they don't want us to study African languages, because it have a lot of culture, a lot of history. How we defeat this? We defeat it by bringing back our languages, talking about ancestry, reading our history, and learning our language, that will make us stand strong on a solid ground. And advancing Arabian ideology in Africa by Islamo-Arabization, that is destructing and dismantling the agency of Africa.
That's right.
Yes. Yeah.
Hotep.
Hotep.
My peace and love to the audience, Dr. Asante. So, listening to a YouTube presentation, they were mentioning that Morocco is heading a plan to get the countries of Africa in together. The landlocked, specifically countries, they want to have access to more shipping so that they could have more commerce. And secondary, what can you tell us about the court case in the international court that South Africa has begun?
I am not expert on the last question, the case in the South African case in international courts. I don't know if any of, yeah. But yes, Morocco people or North African people, slowly they are coming back to Africa. But it is not clear coming back. Still they carry some ideas against the indigenous African, the blacks. If we notice, if you remember, the president of Tunisia, he was complaining, these African people coming from Africa, middle of Africa, they coming to Tunisia to pass, to go to Europe. The president was concerned that the blacks, African blacks will change the demographic in Tunisia. So we are watching this. But the second question, I am not familiar with it about the court.
Okay. Yes. Asante Sana. By the way, someone just wrote in the chat that we should rename the lake Batois after the Twa people, but we're not sure. There is a name for it. There's an African name for it. Just a comment on the South African case against Israel. The South African case against Israel before the International Court of Justice was, I think, an extremely incredible advance on the part of African values and African morality. I think it was absolutely necessary for it to be done, and I was very pleased and very happy that South Africa did it for a number of reasons. I always go back to Jetty, and y'all have heard me say this about Jetty before. And you can find this story about Jetty, and it's very short. And that is in ancient African literature, 2000 BC, when Jetty was in the court of the king Khufu. Khufu called him in, and he said to Jetty, he said, "You are a sage, you are a wise man. And as a sage and as a wise man, Jetty, they tell me that you can cut a man's head off and rejoin it to his body." And Jetty said, "Yes, sir. Para, I can do that." And so Khufu didn't believe it. And so Khufu said to one of his attendants, he said, "Go and bring me that prisoner that we arrested and bring him up here. From this prisoner from some other village, bring this prisoner up here. I want a demonstration by Jetty." And so when they brought the prisoner before Khufu, and he called in Jetty, the wise man, the sage, and he says, "Jetty, now show me that you can behead this man and rejoin his head to his body and he lives." And Jetty says, "No, my lord. Even a prisoner is a human being. And I cannot do that to a human being. That's the African value that undergirds what the South Africans did. Even the Gazans are human beings, you see? It's a profound value. It's a value that Martin Luther King Jr. had. It was a value that Nelson Mandela had. You can't start, and I'm gonna write an essay on this. I know I would probably be getting into a lot of trouble with some of y'all, right? But I'm gonna write this essay, because this is true. The weapon of truth is always the right weapon. You can't deny that weapon. That's the fundamental weapon. And you can't say that the situation in Israel and Gaza started on October 7th. It did not. It started with the Nakba. And it started almost 70 years ago. And you got to talk about the oppression of millions of people in Gaza. If you don't talk about millions of oppressed people in Gaza, you can never understand Nat Turner. You can't tell me that Zumbi should not have led the revolt against the people in Brazil, or Younger leading the revolt against the people in Mexico, or Nani in Jamaica leading the revolt against the British. You can't tell me nothing about that if you don't understand oppression always leads to resistance. That's fundamental. All right, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to share that, but somebody asked a question, and I had to at least give an answer to the best I can. What we hope for, that's why I told you earlier, I wish, people talk about two-state solution. That's a good process. It's a good idea, two-state solution. But why do you have to have a two-state solution? You know why? Because people don't believe in democracy. If you believe in democracy, you have a secular democratic state. Everybody votes. Everybody has a right. Everybody's the same dignity. You see? A secular democracy would be great for Israel and the Palestinians. But we can't get there yet. So then we got to have a two-state solution. But Netanyahu don't want a two-state solution. He wants to wipe out. And by the way, there's another point I need to make, because y'all need to hear this. Israel had a high moral position, one we all respected. I respected Israel. You know why they had it? Because we didn't like what the Nazis did in the Holocaust. We said the Nazis this was terrible, this ruthless, inordinate, destructive fight and destruction of people who were innocent. If we say that about the Nazis, what then is the position of Israel? You have to tell the truth, and truth is the only weapon. That's the only weapon we have. So that's why I say that. I mean, I didn't mean to say this today, but you asked it, so I had to answer the question. Yeah, we got it. Let me see. Are Africans in Sudan working to adopt African names and therefore name their children with African, not Arab names? Naming oneself is the first act of liberation. I like that.
Yes.
Are the people trying to name their children African names? The answer to that is yes.
Yes, they start doing wearing African names, even inside Sudan itself. I have a friend of mine, his son, oldest son, get a child, and he named him Arkamani. Yes, is in Sudan. Is one of the Merwatic king, one of the great Merwatic king, Arkamaniko. We consider him, he's the first founder of secular system, because he separate Arkamaniko, the Pira of Mirwi, he separate between the religious people and the state. And that was, if my memory helped me, 250 BC, I think, in Merwatic time. Okay, thank you.
Is that it? Is that, I think, all right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time, my brother. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank y'all so much. Y'all are beautiful. And, you know, the brother didn't keep us here beyond the time of the world-class Super Bowl. We call upon our ancestors, far and near, the mother of our mothers and the father of our fathers. Yes, to the liberation and the victory of all oppressed people forever. It is done. All right, thank y'all. Thank everybody for coming, and certainly I just want to mention, from time to time we really have to mention all those people who just come and just share with us, but Brother Carlton is one of the strong board members, Brother Stanley Strata, Brother Hugh. These are elders, who, we got some strong elders here, and we just really appreciate them, and Brother Mongo, certainly, and Dr., great psychologist here, one of the greatest, is in this room with us. Brother, I need to. Yeah, and so thank you, brother, so much to the rapping professor, Jabali.